All aboard, the crypto train is taking off again. Bullish sentiment. Let's take a look at what's happening right now. Interesting numbers, quick news updates, and shocking reports from France. All this and much more in the video. Hey, and welcome to Crypto Owl. Exciting news at the moment and rising prices. I think you all are feeling a bit more positive too. In any case, the sentiment is more bullish than expected right now. Let's take another look at quick news and updates happening around the crypto market right now. Interesting news about Bitcoin buyers. That's really exciting to see at the moment, and it's also reflected in the price. And we're seeing great news from companies as well, even though there was actually a pullback, which you have to expect, whether it's already happened or still to come. We're going to take a look at all of this now, and we'll start with the update. And in the market update, let's first take a look at the S&P 500. It started off positively yesterday. We need to bring in some economic data right away to see that. So the S&P 500 started off on a positive note. On the other hand, let's include Bitcoin in the comparison. It experienced a pullback yesterday at the same time. We'll take a look in a moment and overlay the charts so we can see exactly what happened. The S&P 500 is relatively easy to explain. Inflation has gone down. The forecast was 0.3% and it's currently at 0.2%. That means, in other words, that the core inflation data, or the consumer price index, CPI, is better. The annual forecast was 2.4 and it's currently at 2.3. So everything is better, and even in the monthly figures, the result is 0.1% or better than the forecast, so better than expected. And that led to the S&P 500 rising while Bitcoin fell. Crazy, isn't it? We have better inflation numbers and yet Bitcoin is dropping. Actually, that should make people say, we should be celebrating right now. But, of course, the big topic is interest rate cuts. With better inflation, an interest rate cut is perhaps not to be expected, but at the same time, stocks are going up and crypto is going down, even though people always say that crypto, especially Bitcoin, is a safe haven to protect your money from inflation. Now that inflation isn't so high, people are moving out of Bitcoin again. But if you look at the whole thing, side by side or on top of each other, they add the S&P 500 to the mix and look at it in percentage terms, you can see that these charts, when we line them up well, actually always look pretty similar and tend to move in the same direction. Sometimes Bitcoin drops a bit, it's the ETH. Then it breaks out, but actually these charts always move quite closely together when we look back in the past, depending on how well you align them. It's usually easier to see this on the daily chart. They actually always move pretty close to each other, as you can see here. And that's exactly what happened here as well. On the daily chart, if you zoom in, you can see you have to align it well. It's not that clear. There, snap, snap, and that's the current chart. You can also see that the registration channel jumps. That's because when you have two charts overlaid, it's not so easy to see. But actually, we can see it pretty well here. Previously, the charts were running relatively parallel, and then Bitcoin broke out. And then yesterday, Bitcoin pulled back a bit. It went from here to here, and the S&P 500 went up. That means in the hourly chart, you can see it nicely again. It's actually not that the S&P 500 broke out, but rather that the S&P 500 rose and Bitcoin moved closer to the S&P 500 again. Then it even went so low that you could say, or the chart shows, oh, no, we have to go back to the S&P 500, and now they're equal again. Now we see a small drop here. But that will very likely also happen with the S&P 500 when we go through the stocks here. Tesla, a bad example, but many were just lower. It's looking better again. Yes, the next stock we're going to look at is Coinbase. We also have some individual news about Coinbase. In any case, this is very exciting here. Let's go back to regular and take the S&P process out again. Then it looks like this. So Coinbase has risen because it was included in the S&P 500. Hey, and that's already a positive sign. The crypto stock of the #1 crypto exchange in the US is now in the S&P 500 stock index. Very cool thing, but we have some specific news about Coinbase. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment. Let's take a look at fulfillment. And fulfillment has been performing well over the past few days. If we look at the 4-hour chart, daily chart, amazing, right? Since May 8th, it's basically only been going up, and now there's a bit of a pullback. If you've been following my tweets, you'll know that I traded it as well. I went long somewhere around here and rode it up to this point. Yesterday, I closed the position, not quite at the peak, and then caught a small pullback here. I took advantage of that too and closed it again. Nice trade. Sometimes you just have to get lucky. Or as others say, even a blind chicken finds a grain sometimes. And that's exactly what happened in this case. Right now, we're seeing a bit of a small drop. The reason for that, as we can also see with Bitcoin, is that there was a small short squeeze. That means the open interest, in other words, the open positions in Bitcoin, has just dropped sharply. About $1 billion was liquidated in the last hour. We can see that here as well on the hourly chart. This red candle, that was 2 hours ago. As I said, there's a small pullback, but it's not a big deal. That's completely fine. We can also see, if you look at the regression channel here on the daily chart, we're pretty much in the middle. So there's still plenty of room to go up and also plenty of room to go down. Everything's fine. The important thing is above $100,000. Now it remains exciting to see what will happen with the chart soon. I just zoomed in a bit and the all-time high is at around 109,700, something like that. So we're not that far away anymore, about $6,000 to the upside. And I'm really curious to see when we'll break a new all-time high for Bitcoin. Again, long market update, talked for a while, some of it was. The inflation numbers were already included. And now let's get right into why things are so bullish for Bitcoin at the moment. It's fascinating to see that companies are currently buying up 3.3 times as much Bitcoin as the new supply that's available or has been mined. That's a crazy number, in my opinion. And as we can see here, for 2025, Bitwise found this out in their analysis. That's pretty wild, isn't it? I mean, just think about it. Bitcoin is mined every day, every 10 minutes, a certain amount of Bitcoin is created, and in total, a certain amount is produced each day. And right now, they want to buy up 3.3 times as much Bitcoin in total. Remember, Bitwise also has a Bitcoin spot ETF. That's a staggering number in my opinion. 3.3 times as much also explains why the price is shooting up right now, you have to say. It's pretty similar at the firm. There's also massive buying going on there at the moment. We saw the chart, it went up quite a bit. And there's a company, specifically a company based in London, called Abraxas Capital. They bought 33,482 Ethereum, which amounts to $84.7 million. And in the past few days, a total of 211,030 Ethereum, which is equivalent to $477.6 million. So this company, Abraxas Capital, is buying firms on a massive scale, which of course also led to the firm price going up. Do they know something that we don't? Or do they have other plans for their companies? Do they maybe want to build something on the Ethereum blockchain? Are they planning something on the crypto world computer? Who knows? So it's very exciting what's happening right now. But all these purchases, whether it's companies buying Bitcoin or this company buying Ethereum, and of course others as well, plus all the long trades that are still open. Even I had a long trade open. Hello? That really moved the market. All of this is causing the price to go up, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And it's honestly great to watch. An amazing cashback event awaits you in May at ZoomX. 100% cashback on your first deposit up to 100,000 USDT. You can find event details and information in the link in the video description. Buy and trade cryptocurrencies easily with ZoomX. ZoomX is the official crypto exchange partner of the Haas Formula One team. With their partner OnRamp, you can conveniently deposit euros or other currencies via credit card, bank transfer, and other methods, and receive Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies directly. Buy and sell conveniently through their spot trading in the various cryptocurrencies they offer. For futures traders, this exchange has a lot to offer, as they have a wide selection of cryptocurrencies, including some that aren't even listed on spot. So futures trading here offers a lot, with leverage of up to M150 on various cryptocurrencies. And you can even trade CoinM, meaning you can go long on Bitcoin with Bitcoin. And there are also traders from around the world active here whose trades you can copy through copy trading. Has that piqued your interest? Then use the link in the pinned comment or video description to receive additional bonuses with our partner, ZoomX. Let's talk about Coinbase again. And Coinbase has some news. Coinbase has made it. They have been included in the S&P 500. Brian Armstrong has also confirmed this again, stating that Coinbase has just become the first and only crypto company to be included in the S&P 500. This milestone represents what true believers, from retail investors to institutional investors to our employees and partners, have always known crypto is here to stay. Exciting statement. And Michael Saylor also offered his congratulations here. Michael Saylor and other big, actually many big if you look through here, many big names in the crypto space have congratulated them. Michael Saylor also made a statement that the war against crypto should finally come to an end. And Michael Saylor really said crypto, that not just Bitcoin. I think that's remarkable. And there's also a new commercial about Bitcoin that will now air in the USA. Also, very exciting. It looks like this. Unfortunately, I can't play the audio for you, but we can let it run in the background. And this clip will soon be distributed in the USA. And yes, the message is clear. There are only 21 million, and you'd better own a part of it, because 21 million is really just a tiny fraction of what's possible in the world. This depiction here, these 21 million, is actually from Coinbase, this trailer. These 21 million are in this small container, and everything else represents how much more there is in the rest of the world. For example, yes, stocks, securities, real estate. There's everything in abundance, but Bitcoin is so small. And that's what all of us, let's say all crypto influencers or all crypto YouTubers, actually want to tell you. Bitcoin is so small. And that's exactly why you should really secure yourself a piece of the whole. So think about whether you might want to invest a few euros in Bitcoin. Then there's something else from Coinbase, and we all know that Coinbase has long been more than just Coinbase. It also has its own blockchain, or rather a second layer solution, namely Base. And now Base wants to bring more cryptocurrencies onto their chain, or rather asks onto their second layer specifically. They are now planning to introduce Kabeda, that is Cardano, Doge is Litecoin, and XRP as wrapped tokens on Base. This means that you'll be able to bridge these to Base and then create new trading pairs there, or alternatively, store them on the Base second layer. So if you're a Cardano holder, Doge holder, Litecoin or XRP holder, you can wrap or transfer your assets, bridge them to the Base second layer, and then trade them there. These are all upcoming updates, but whether they're really needed and whether they'll be adopted, only our time will tell. We also know that Eric Trump, one of Donald Trump's sons, has founded the company American Bitcoin, and they want to become the largest mining company in America. They have teamed up with a major mining firm, and they plan to go public soon. This means, in other words, following strategy B, as I call it, but really just the strategy Coinbase, American Bitcoin is also expected to be present on the US stock exchanges soon, or rather to be listed on the US stock market. It's interesting to watch the whole thing unfold. You might want to keep a close eye on what happens here, or rather how it is received and whether this stock will actually be bought, because essentially it's a Bitcoin mining stock, but directly from the USA. Exciting in my opinion, and definitely something to keep an eye on. It's not just small investors who are investing in Bitcoin, but also companies, as we now know, and they're doing so at a rate 3.3 times higher than the available supply, or rather than the amount of Bitcoin being mined. And one company, in fact the most successful company in terms of employee numbers, has once again bought more Bitcoin, and that company is Tether. Tether has purchased 4,812 Bitcoin worth $459 million. And all of this is for 21 capital. So it's really fascinating to watch what's happening here. Who is buying Bitcoin and who is positioning themselves? I'm very curious to see how all of this will develop. In any case, it's a great time to report positively about crypto again and to show all the amazing things happening here. Of course, there are always negative things as well. Recently, it was the negative prices. We all kept saying nothing is happening, but there are also really terrible negative things. You may have heard about it. One of the co-founders of Ledger, the hardware wallet manufacturer, was kidnapped. Then the SEK, that is the Special Operations Unit from France, came and freed him. And there was also a ransom demand. And so on. Really terrible. And now it continues. There was a robbery in broad daylight, right out on the street. No joke, seriously. This time involving, or rather targeting, the daughter of a major crypto holder. These are the images from the surveillance camera. Maybe you've already seen the video. This particular image has definitely made the rounds, or already 1 million views. Just this image, as I said, by now the full video is out, shows 3 masked individuals. 1, 2, 3, also on a street, but fortunately the attempt failed. So they weren't able to take her, and this is what they were trying to steal. This is the image that has been circulating. Specifically, it's reported that the daughter of a crypto exchange CEO was almost kidnapped in broad daylight in Paris. 3 masked men tried to force her into a fake delivery van, but she fought back against them. One of them even dropped his weapon. So, crazy stuff. It's really insane. And of course, we immediately think of Ledger. And now a lot of people are saying that Paris is no longer safe for crypto people. And when I think of Ledger, I can only think of that commercial. Just imagine walking through the streets like that. People know exactly what that is. So that's why. If you walk around with a Bitcoin t-shirt or a Bitcoin cap, I don't even think that's a big deal. But if, for example, you walk around with your hardware wallet, or if I were to say here, I own 300 Bitcoin, just as an example. My address is very likely publicly accessible somewhere, as is often the case for a YouTube channel. And of course, that's extremely dangerous, you have to admit. That's why I would never say on camera how much money I have. I would never go and say that I even have any crypto assets at home. You know, I have a ton of hardware wallets, but many of them are still completely unopened. So I still have a lot of openings planned here. It's not like there's a lot of value lying around at home. It's simply kept in a bank safe deposit box. I would never keep it at home because it's just become too dangerous. In Sweden, there have been so many robberies, and now in Paris for the second time, or the second time publicly, for the daughter of a ETH crypto exchange CEO. Maybe you even know which exchange it was. It's not known. Well, I didn't find it. If you do some deeper research, you'll probably find it. In any case, it's not nice to see. So take care of yourselves. Be careful who you tell that you have crypto, and above all, be careful where you store it. A hardware wallet is definitely a must, hamche, but keeping the hardware wallet at home, that's tricky. Yes, I always recommend Tangem as a hardware wallet for your wallet or purse. But to be completely honest, should you really keep everything on it, maybe you have a second Tangem and the more valuable one stays at home, while you just carry one with you to be a bit more mobile and maybe to quickly transfer cryptocurrencies for a quick purchase. So please be really careful about whom you tell that you own crypto assets, and especially how much you have. Sometimes the amount is the real issue. If you just say, I have crypto, you might not be interesting to anyone, but if you mention, hey, I have 2 million in crypto, then you might attract a different kind of attention. And especially if you also own a business like this CEO of a crypto exchange, you could potentially be vulnerable to extortion. So, not a pleasant situation. It's a shame to end the video on this note, but it was a topic I really wanted to share with you, in case you hadn't already heard about it. In any case, all the best to the family, and especially to the daughter, who is probably still in shock after something like that. You really think twice about whether you even want to go outside. Yeah, not exactly good news. Let's move on to something more positive. And the positive thing is that things are actually looking really good right now. So right now we're seeing positive prices. We're seeing a good run at the moment, and now all that's left is to wait and see. Just like I mentioned in the last news video. Will the summer slump come? No one knows. Or will we actually not see a summer slump this time because it already happened earlier? is definitely going to stay exciting. I think with the low inflation we've just seen, or rather, which turned out lower than forecast, I assume we won't see an interest rate cut. That's why it's still exciting to see what will happen with Donald Trump, how he'll go after Jerome Powell again, how the Fed will react, and whether they might still offer a little sweetener and give a small rate cut after all. Because at the beginning of the year, the market was expecting up to, say, 4 rate cuts in 2025. So, will we see another one? Or will the Fed remain even calmer than before? The whole thing remains extremely exciting. What do you think? Summer slump? Yes or no? Write it in the comments. With that, I want to say thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.